Visual recording.
Sí. Sorry. Patricia.
Good evening, everybody. It's 5:32 and I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with introductions and we'll start at the right.
My name is Chloe Quesada. I work in the Public Relations Department. Good afternoon, everyone. Griselda Munoz. I represent the manufacturing industry. I work for Creative Liquid Coatings.
I'm Eliza Vasquez. I'm a commercial real estate appraiser and realtor.
I'm Patricia Cavazos. I work for BISD.
My name is Angie Capistran, and I'm a teacher at Rivera High School. My name is Adriana Contreras. I'm an insurance agent broker.
Thank you. I know we have some PUB employees in the room. If you can please introduce yourselves.
Good evening, Ernesto Estrada, IT.
Carlos Mat, IT.
Dave Hernandez, Director of Customer Service and IT.
Thank you. Do we have any guests that want to introduce themselves? Don't be shy. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. First order of business is going to be to approve the minutes for November 30th, 2022. You have the minutes in front of you. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from December.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Minutes of November the 30th, 2022 is written or approved. Next order of business is going to be old business. Clady, do we have items under old business that we need to discuss?
Not at the moment. We are going to be talking about the winterization. We had talked about that at the November meeting. And we're going to be talking about it with the next presenters.
Next item on the agenda is new business.
Under new business, I do want to bring up a couple of things. We want to start presenting to the board. So the PUBCAP on a quarterly basis wants to start presenting to the board. It doesn't always have to be the chair, it could be the vice chair. Possibly we can start in March so that we can present to them on, we have a lot of members of the public attend the meetings. So, they don't only attend board meetings, but they attend PUBCAP, and we'd like to just continue keeping the board updated, and that would create a stronger communication with them. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, one more thing. The report will be part of the general manager's report at the beginning of the board meetings.
Okay, I think that's an excellent idea.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is for February, we talked about doing a tour of 511. A lot of you are panel members, and 511 is a great building, and just to get to know more about PUB and different areas. And if we have the tour at 511, we can also have the meeting at 511 on February 15th.
The service center.
At the service center, correct.
Great.
At the same time, different location.
Fine.
And be able to have members afterwards, go on the.
So the meeting is still open to the public.
Correct. We still have an agenda. Still have at least one presentation. And we get business, new business. So it's still the public meeting.
I'll make sure to change the address on the agenda to let the public know.
The only other thing under new business that I wanted to bring up was I just wanted to formally thank all the PUB employees that were on standby and that were working hard during the Christmas holidays. I know it was a lot. We had a lot of positive feedback on social media. I was really happy about that. And so on behalf of PUBCAP, we just wanted to say thank you to all those that were involved and that worked so hard during that time and were away from your families during that time. So we really appreciate that. Thank you. We have bylaws that we've been working on for the last couple of months. If anybody has any discussion about it, we can discuss that. If not, I would entertain the motion to approve the bylaws as written.
Before we do that, I just want to mention one of the updates for the public is instead of 3 minutes to speak, we'll have 5 minutes for each of them.
Any other changes that we need to make everybody aware of? Do I hear a motion to accept the bylaws?
I'll second that.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes to approve the bylaws as written. We have a presentation on the winter event. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Let me put this on the screen. There you go. So my name is Cesar Cortinas. I'm the Director of Transmission and Distribution from Brownsville PUB. Next to me is Eli Alvarez. He's the area manager for the T&D departments. Today, he's going to present to you the recap for the winter storm, including what we had done on winterization for facilities. what happened during the event, and at the end, what went well and lessons learned throughout this tough winter event that happened during the Christmas Eve. And I was saying, it was some of us were working during that weekend, and a lot of PUB employees were part of it. So I'm gonna let him turn on and present.
Good evening, board, actually, PUBCAP members, so let me get it right. We did this for the last board meeting, and I was told that we ran a little long, so we'll try to cut it short as best we can. So as mentioned, Clarity mentioned that we're going to double this presentation to put a capstone on the last discussion we had at PUBCAP, winterization efforts here at BPUB. So I did talk about the transmission part of things, and we're going to get into what we didn't talk about that day was what Silas Ray was doing, or the power production part of the business, what they did to winterize their facilities. So you can see on the pictures, and it tells the story. They have a windbreak on the top. I'm looking at it on the top right. I'm not sure. Yeah, top right. You could see like a motor type piece of equipment that's covered with a canopy type. I guess that's an enclosure of some sort. Then they have the cabinets that you see right in the middle of the pictures that they also installed. So those cabinets, they look pretty benign, I guess, but within them is this insulated. It's insulated, and then it also has like heaters that prevent whatever equipment from freezing when we need it the most. And of course, you see this other picture here where they have an apparatus that's insulated completely. So some of the very specific names of this equipment is O'Brien boxes, windbreak, skid covering. I don't think we have a picture of the skid covering, but the windbreak is that top right picture that I explained to you. Then it talked about insulation jackets on the Unit 10 MLO skid. Brace Integrated Services is a company that came down and they did they installed heat trace, which is like the last time we had Uri, we had a lot of ornamental palms that didn't make it, right? But knowing about it now, what we could have done, we could have put a heat trace on well, I guess the bark of it's not bark, but the bark of the palm, which is basically a small heater that wraps around it, right? Well, that's exactly what a heat trace is, and that's what they do there at the power plant for some pipes, some water pipes, and those that create moisture.
So what is that pipe on the very bottom that's insulated like that?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what that goes to, but we could find out if you'd like.
Well, is that here at PUB or is
Yeah,
that?
it's
Oh, okay.
here at Brownsville Pub at the side of the power plant.
Oh, okay.
Exactly where it goes, I'm not too sure. It's kind of taken out of context. Maybe if they pulled out a little bit, I can give you more information on it. The heating system, there is generation there, so they have the availability of using the utility and then the generators. Yeah, during the storm there at the power plant itself. It can be, but it not necessarily. Like the first choice usually is the utility, so the utility provided. And in case that's not available, then they could switch to the generator modes. Okay, so this is basically a recap of what I had explained. We basically check all the high voltage equipment side of things, pressure checks, testing the supporting circuitry, because we can't man every single facility we have out there. And so we have to have the infrastructure that allows you to monitor them from a remote place. And that's what they also checked. And then they make sure that all the heaters within the cabinets are working to make sure that the actual circuitry continues to work during the event. Transformers, it goes without saying, it's one of our most important components in an electrical substation. And so all the general checks that you would run through are done at that time. Then, of course, battery banks are also checked. So I don't know if I talked about the battery banks, but for sure we did touch on the circuit breakers and the transformer checks that we do. That was the last, the November PUBCAP meeting. Any questions on this slide? Okay, from an engineering standpoint, they're not sitting there with their fingers crossed, I mean, or their legs crossed, or whatever. They're actually doing work, making sure that all the balance feeders are, the loads are balanced, and they're finishing up any pending work that make the system more robust. And we do a real quick check and make sure that we're in alignment with how we're going to restore when we start restoring. And then we evaluate the existing conditions of the electrical substations, make sure that that the loading is optimized, to make sure that everything is taxed exactly the same, right? We don't want one substation working harder than the other if it's not necessary. Okay, and then we go over our emergency contacts. That is the tech stot, the vegetation. We also have the vegetation contractor, which we have and we've had for many, many years. We send them to the most, the sites where we have known problem areas, right? FM 802 is one of them. We have another one in West Brownsville. Backup generators are tested and prepared to run if needed. And as we had mentioned, the water plants and other facilities, they're all also weatherized, and we make sure that that's done as well. Any questions on this slide?
Just a question in general, Mr. Alvarez. So like this Christmas, when we were expecting it to freeze and all that, how much time ahead of that did PUB know about the weather to prepare? I mean, did you know a week ahead of time that this might be coming, or 2 days time?
At least a week. At least a week. We and that is what allowed us to get ahead of some of these things, like some of the inspections. One in particular that our electrical maintenance department took care of is we made sure that because this was also going to be a wind event, we made sure that all the poles that were in the queue for replacement were replaced. And then the other part of the thing, the other part of it was all the known transformers that we knew that needed to be replaced, that was done as well. So we had some time, that allowed us to have the vegetation contractor also do the preemptive tree trimming in those known areas. So not a whole lot of time, but enough to make it a little easier on us when we were faced with all the outages.
So the last few days, it's been super windy. I mean, I think Sunday
Yes.
was terrible. What kind of problems does that cause?
Well,
It-
wind causes palm fronds to blow into the lines. So that is what we see a lot of. The other thing that we see when there's a wind event are electrical jumpers breaking. And it is fairly, relatively speaking, it's a quick fix, but we get a lot of those in wind events. But I guess the ramifications of a failure of that piece of equipment I'm talking about, it would be a significant outage, an area, a whole area that would be out.
Wow.
So that's what we see when there's a lot of wind. There's a few types of generators, but I believe it's once a month for the very small generators. The larger ones, I have to get back with you, and I'm not sure how. I think they do daily inspections on the generators themselves. But the smaller facility-wide, I mean, the facility class generators, less than 1 megawatt, it's usually done every month. Any questions? Okay. So that would conclude the winterization part, whatever we missed in that really brief November PUBCAP meeting update. and just really quickly go over what we experienced during the winter storm event, which started for us in very late Thursday, I guess it was Thursday night, and into Friday morning. So first thing, safety. Safety is always our first thing. Staff was outfitted and supplied with all the necessary PPE to work amidst the cold weather. And since we had all the time, we made sure that all our employees, including the new employees, had the PPE needed, which would include overcoat, the coveralls, or well, actually they're overalls, but they're all rated for this type of weather, very cold weather. Not only that, but if they needed gloves, electrical gloves, all that kind of stuff. All that type of equipment is what I'm referring to. This was, I don't remember the health and safety security ops being this involved, but they very much were. So during the event, they were already on 12-hour shifts, and they were conducting job site observations throughout the event that would include taking pictures and documenting the event here. All those pictures that you see here, they were taken by the health and safety and security operations. So they were also reminding employees of safety, monitoring weather conditions, which would include the wind that I'm referring to. After a certain mile per hour gust, they can't work aerial. We have to stop. We completely have to stop everything that we're doing. They assisted with patrolling lines and ensured, as they normally do, ensured all facilities were secured during the event. So bottom line, they did a great job. Our crews did a great job to the point where we had 0 reported safety incidents during the event.
I have a question. So during these times when there's winter issues and weather issues, do y'all have a crew like all the time, like 24/7?
24/7.
So they're just shifting or they're getting, and do y'all get more people or is it the same people just working more hours on, how does that work?
Okay. Well, what we try to do is when the general manager actually initiates the general emergency plan, we have crews working around the clock and they're put on 12-hour shifts.
Okay,
So we'll have coverage during the daytime or the 8 to 8, and then we have coverage in the morning time, right? 8 to 8 again.
okay.
And so that's the way it would be done. At this point, when we started the event, the emergency plan was not launched. So we were basically using crews and contract crews as we had them available. But yeah, they were working.
Just
24.
depending on what the
Yeah.
weather was or whatever.
Exactly. So the first night we had 3 crew, actually all the crews available working during the day, and then we had 3 crews at night. That was our Thursday night, Friday morning.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So the other one, this reporting and the following slide were things that we learned during Uri. We needed to be better with our reporting and our processes and getting the information out, communicating it. So we had already started the OMS and we during Uri, but we weren't able to utilize it during the time. But this go, we had the outage management system that we use to partially automate the reporting part of the process, right? So using the OMS, we were able to put together the internal reports, and we were able to issue them out every 4 hours and every 2 hours during the very busy times. It just changed depending on how many outages we had. And BPUB also submitted voluntarily, we submitted the outages to the PUCT. So by using the OMS, customers can report outages using their phones. They can call it in. They can go to the website and report it. There's many different ways to report an outage. It all comes into the OMS, and it figures out whether it's like a large mass outage or a very isolated outage, and we can assign crews depending on what type of outage it is, right? So it was a really big help. It simplified the reporting process for our group. This is another lessons learned from Yuri, the communications aspect of things, but I think we did very well in communicating what the circumstances were for the electrical system. And so, as the bullets say, we were actively communicating to the community throughout social media, and the forms of communication were press release, public notices, memos, Everbridge, everything. So I think we did very well in that respect.
That's very important because there's people who, like people like elderly people who maybe don't have a lot of knowledge with the media. And so it's good that you have all of these different ways. So that way there's education on how to be able to report things and how to be able to, because there's a lot of people like, well, I don't know what to do and I don't know how to do it. And so it's important to have the public and the customer educated on how they can, be able to contact PUB when they need it.
I 100% agree with you.
So, yeah.
You want to chime in on this one?
This was fun. A lot of communication. And we also worked like the crews, 12-hour shift starting Thursday night to through Christmas and Sunday morning. Also, we try to cover our bases with the press release, public notice, just to make sure that they know a certain, I can't remember exactly what the public notice was about. But also internal memos to let the employees know what stage we're in. Everbridge is the automated phone messaging system. And so we're able to locate the feeder that's down, and it's by number. One important thing about that is we had a very good communication with energy control. We were able to provide us a list of feeders and the contacts for each of those feeders. And so we were able to communicate what feeder is down. Then we can gather the contact list for that certain area. And that's how the Everbridge automated message goes out. But like you said, it's good to reach the people at home who don't have access to social media or anything. Their light could be down. We had quite a few, more so before the event than after. So I'd say more so before the event, we had more inquiries. A lot of social media every 4 hours we were reporting the status of the outages, and of course on our website as well.
Thank you.
So the last point, actually the last bullet here just shows what our demand to have been during that time, 301. So the last time we saw something like that was in 2011. So what does that equate to? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot for our system. So the numbers tell the story. I think that every time I see something like this, so it really does. So beginning on the 22nd, you see that this is not the whole day, mind you. Remember, it was very late in the evening. We started counting. So in general, we took around 3 hours for each day. In general, I don't know what the average is exactly, but it's in and around there, somewhere around between 2 and 3 hours on average when a customer experienced an outage. So you see here that we have the very bottom, there's 2 asterisks. Is that the way you plural? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's the plural, but anyways, the double asterisk there on the very bottom is 53,324. So approximately 16% of our customer base experienced an outage. And so when we're looking at that, on average, those customers that experience an outage took those times, the restoration times to get back online. So that's what we took, Brownsville Pub took to restore their services on average. So any questions on this? Yes.
old days that people's paying electricity. But my suggestion to you, or for these numbers, social media, and that way people will see that side. Share with the community these numbers. It's really important because in that way they can see, hey, that's happening and that is the
Mhm.
I don't think that we have done that in the past. I think we do report when we're awarded the RP designation. So that it's part of it, right? Our reliability indices are part of it. But it's not the whole story for the RP3. Do we do any reporting on numbers?
With the-
meeting on January 9th, I believe, or
I'm,
so we post, I'm not sure who's. We do have the presentations as well as the video thing on our website,
Mm.
under staff board meetings for the, they are posted.
oh, okay. No. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Mm.
And you be almost there 24/7. Could be something, for example, we have some PUBCAP, we can take like a screenshot or something. That we can share the message.
One thing I did share was the photos of our crews working outside, during Christmas and the weather. So we can work on something to show more numbers like that in the future as well.
Well, because these numbers are pretty impressive. I mean, on the 23rd, you had 4,120 customers and you were able to restore their electricity in less than 2 hours, or it looks like it's less than 2 hours. So overall, everything was, it was less than
Yeah.
3 hours.
The experiences for customers vary, but on average, sometimes it's 45 minutes, sometimes it's 4 hours. It just depends, but by and large, I think we did pretty good, considering the circumstances. I mean, just for me, picking up my trash in that weather, I couldn't feel my hands. I mean, I can imagine how the line workers felt.
Yeah.
It was really intense. It was really intense. Yeah. Mhm.
Because like you said, yeah, it's posted on the board, but see.
Mhm.
I can see, and I'm supposed to be looking at the word, because some things are very, very important.
Yes, ma'am.
Response to the mental.
Mhm.
You guys nice to focus on looking good.
Good.
instead of saying, "Oh, we should get it." You know, it's something nice to be able to say, hey. we're trying to-
That's a really good suggestion.
And this.
It's important that y'all are recognized for your work and hard work, because like you said, these workers, I mean, they do a lot.
They
And
do.
they're out there and the storms and with the complaints and the calls and this and that. So it's very hard as well. So it's good that when you all are doing your efforts and these numbers show, it's important that the community recognizes that you all are doing your job and you're doing the best that you can. And that's important because it makes you feel good about what you all are doing
Yeah.
as well. So
Really good
That's,
suggestions. Thank you.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. All right, so good numbers, I think. So the response and restorations, we experienced a lot of transformer overloads as we expected. And that is one of the reasons why we try to replace as many transformers that we knew to have been an issue prior to the event. So just the regular measuring stick in in regular circumstances, normal weather, normal conditions, it's 4 hours just to replace one of these transformers. So I think the guys overall did a very good job. They're actually in action right here on the, I guess, the lower picture on the far right. So they're actually replacing all the connections for the transformer there. You could see what they call the moonwalk on the top, the very top of the pictures. Yeah, it's a moonwalk. So that's an apparatus that displays out like that, and really you can get it into really close quarters and be able to replace the transformer using that boom. And you could see it on the bottom here as well. Does this pointer work? Does? Okay. There. Or there. Right there. There and there. It's right here on the bottom. I'm just gonna wiggle it like that. No, it's not working. Okay, there it is. That's what they call the moonwalk. So, and to your question, to the greatest extent possible, we schedule the crews to ensure adequate coverage, even at night, second shift. And we also had our contract crews come in. So we have a current contract with a company called Line Tech. We had them working throughout. So they did 12-hour shifts each day of the event, and they helped us out a lot. And then I think it's a big thing. So I think it's part of, we can chalk it up to safety. We had the meal pickup contracts for the electrical crew staff. They don't have to worry about that. It's one less thing to worry about for them. And it worked well. We got it started later than normal, but it worked well for them and at the very end. So things had gone all right. Very early on the 24th, we had a little pickup of outages, as you saw in the numbers that I had shown earlier. And just to make sure that we had adequate coverage throughout, Ms. Gilbert had partially activated the emergency plan at 8 p.m. So everybody reported to work that we're supposed to, obviously, right? We had some people on standby, and to the extent possible, we had the crews that we needed on site working throughout the system, and those that we absolutely needed in case the outages got out of hand, we had them on standby. Same thing throughout the time frame, the communications and PR department, they were continuously working on the 12-hour shift. So there was no change there. They were just continuing doing a good job. Change there in the warehouse staff. They were alongside the line workers and qualified electrical workers. And then we also had the water, wastewater construction staff available to be deployed if necessary. What do? They carry equipment out to the electrical workers. They verify whether outages have been restored. They do a lot of things that are important so that we can be productive during these events. So the morning of the 25th, there wasn't many outages left, so they deactivated, and we were able to I think, and by the December 25th, the morning of December 25th, we had all the major outages handled, and then the weather started improving around noon that same day. So at that time, ERCOT canceled the watch advisory and operating condition notice. So after the storm, so what we realized, we knew already, but what we realized is the qualified electrical workers are well-trained, well-equipped. There was no incidents of, oh, we don't have this equipment, or we don't know how to do this, none of that. We were able to handle the situation that was in front of us. So long lead items, we have them in stock, transformers, circuit breakers, all that kind of stuff. All that is on site right here. We didn't actually need them for major equipment, but if it came to it, we had it available. ERCOT did not require load shedding as they did with Uri. So it changed the dynamic of this in comparison to Uri. So we didn't have to necessarily worry about load shedding and bringing those customers back online all at once. So despite some outliers, our system performed generally okay. There were no issues reported transmission equipment, as I think I had previously mentioned. So the OMS assisted us with generating reports, and it simplified previously, it was a very time-consuming task. So it really simplified things for us and helped us to manage outages. So despite the weather and Christmas holiday, all the electrical workers reported, nearly all the electrical workers reported for duty when the partial emergency plan was activated. So really good turnout. I'm real proud of them. So lessons learned, this might be coming up. I think the board had already approved. We're well in advance for having an AMI system here at Brownsville Pub. But what that could have done for us was significant. If we had an AMI, we could really automate the process and make it really accurate so that we can go exactly where we need to restore customers even faster than the numbers that I had shown. BPUB could have benefited from alternate priority dispatch orders. So on occasion, we would have a large outage, then another outage would come up that might be very easy to handle. So we were busy focusing on the first call that came in. That was a big outage. But what an alternate priority would be is if it's really fast, then we could send somebody really quick to re-energize them. We didn't have that coordination, but we can probably do something in the next event. So equipment trailers really reduce the outage times to the point where, okay, transformer failed. They haul in a transformer, which we already have stocked, and then they'll get started on the repair versus going to the warehouse, ordering the equipment, waiting for somebody to get there and all that. And update procedures to include timely response from Brownsville Police Department when needing access to customers' property. Part of the reason why it takes a long time to replace a transformer and at the rear of a property is access. Sometimes it will be nobody. And so it's difficult to just jump the fence and get in there and replace it. We need to be cognizant that that is private property, and we try to the best of our abilities to inform the customer of what we're doing when we need to replace a transformer at the rear or any piece of equipment for that matter. So we coordinate with the customers, make sure that they're aware of what exactly it is that we're doing there, and then go from there. So we have a few capital improvement plans that we've already initiated, and a lot of them are already board approved. So one of them is a new electric substation in the northwest area. We also have a second transformer at Palo Alto and Waterport. These are substations, by the way. These it's lingo to us, but substations to our system. Pilot distribution management system that goes along with our SCADA/OMS systems. Distribution fuse study. Heat trace assessment at Silas Ray. I kind of talked about wrapping the ornamental palm. Upgrade of the distributed control system. This is for Unit 10. This is at the power plant. And a chiller cooling tower replacement for Unit 10. These are all capital improvement projects that are moving towards resolution. I don't have anything more. I know this was a long presentation. I apologize, but
Very informative. Thank you.
it's a lot of information, but thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Alvarez.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Mr. Hernandez, I think you have the floor.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a couple of different items. One is our kind of like our aging report, which shows you like our 30, 60, 90 day type of information. And then the other is information on aid to customers, because they're kind of related in a sense. I guess when the issue with Tenasca started, one of the things that the commission and the board asked us to do is to take a look and see how we could help customers out, or, could we take a step back and let them breathe a little bit? One of the things that the groups decided to do was to suspend disconnections and late fees up until February 28th, which is going to be right around the corner, sooner than later, which is fine. You can do that. Well, we did implement that, but there's repercussions that happen with that. A couple of things that happen is, once we do start back up, then the clock will start ticking on March 1st. That doesn't mean that on March 1st, we're going to be out disconnecting people. That means the clock starts ticking. The normal timeline is it's 20 days before you're past due, and it will send you a past due notice. And then you get another 7 days before the disconnect notice goes out. Okay. So on March 20th, más o menos, the late notices will go out because the clock starts ticking on the 1st. And then the 27th is when the first disconnects will happen. The issue is that, as we'll see with the aging report, which one is it? Because this is not easy to see. There we go. If you look at the aging report, this is our 90-plus day aging. You can see, and we compared 2022 December, and then here's 2021 December, last December. If you, oh God, let me see if I can. There we go. I'm getting old. Last year, at the end of December, we had 531 customers that were 90 days past due, for a total of 2,058. We had worked really hard all year to get back from COVID, and it took us about a year to push those numbers. Now, how do we work these numbers? It's not just disconnecting people. The other way is we work very closely with our agencies that provide aid, hand in glove. And I'll get to that. That'll be the next report we do. So we try to work with them very closely so that we can get our customers help, because that's the whole point. But what happens when one of the things that we learned back in COVID that from the agencies was like, they said, for God's sake, don't stop disconnecting, because it's that, I hate to say threat of disconnecting, but if you tell people, oh, don't worry about it, we're not going to do anything for 3 months, well, then they don't worry about it, and they don't do anything for 3 months. So what happens is nobody's going in to get aid. So that causes a problem for them, because they need,
Their bill continues to.
they need the assembly line to keep going, because then they got staff, they have staff that is not being utilized. The funds aren't being utilized, and that hurts everybody. And then it's just piling up. So it's kind of one of those things. It's a little counterintuitive. You think you're helping people, but you're really not. We could have maybe worked it a little bit different. I think the intention was, well, the intention was obviously good, but you can see the results. Last December, 531, this December, 2,265, 406,000. You can see the giant increase, and we had been pretty steady all year long. So that's the big takeaway from this report. There's 4 pages to it, but this is the one I really wanted to hit. It's a big impact. So, and we've been seeing, in fact, today we were checking some of our regulars to kind of see how they're doing, and it wasn't good. We have a lot of people that just have not paid a dime in 3 to 4 months. So and the problem is, then you start the clock, and when the notice goes out, come March, they're going to say, oh, well, I need a payment arrangement. All right, pay 50%, and then we'll work with you on the balance. Well, wait a minute, but I owe X amount. Yeah, it's 4 months worth of bills, but you have to pay 50% up front, and then we'll work. It's, we don't do we do payment arrangements typically. The normal terms are 50% up front, because usually it's 1 month or something, right? And then we'll do the balance for the next couple of months, or the next, what works for you. Some people, they need a couple of months. Some people, hey, I just need a couple of weeks, so we'll work with them in that regard. But when you don't pay anything for 3 or 4 months, now that balance is huge. And if you didn't save that money, and of course, this was not the good time of year to do that, because you had Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and okay, do I want to pay my this bill or do I want to buy presents or do I want to go out with the family? You know, so those are the things that kind of impact everything. So this is the big takeaway from this report. You saw the 90, and then we break it down some more into 60, and you see the same pattern. You see the big increase. And so there's nothing unusual in the rest of this report. We just slice it and dice it different ways. So let me go to the next report. Find it in here. So, as I said, so what do? We got to work with the agencies. There are a couple of the agencies that we work with. The big one is K-Cost. It's they're the ones that receive the state funding, and that's the LIHEAP, the Low Income Household Energy Assistance Program money, and the CAP money, and the same thing for low income water money. That's a new program. They didn't. The feds give the state money. The state they hire agencies to deal with that. The agencies have to abide by certain restrictions. Because sometimes we'll get complaints. Well, they this and they that, and it's like it's their money. I'm asking them to help you, so you have to follow their rules or don't ask them for money. Sometimes people forget that. Now, PUB does have a program internally that we call SHARE that we use, and some of that money comes from donations. A large chunk of that money, actually, we put in about $2 million back in 2020 with COVID. So there's a program that was written specifically SHARE COVID, and we put $2 million into it. The way things work right now, like I said, we work very closely with the agency. So we try to funnel people to them. They have a hierarchy that they go through. They're gonna intake the customer. They need all the information, and we have the same criteria that they do. We tried to match criteria as closely as possible to make it as easy as possible. And if you qualify for this, you qualify for the rest of them. Okay, so a customer comes in, and if they apply for aid, the first thing they're gonna do, K-Cost wants them to use their money for a number of reasons. One, coming from the government. Obviously, the more, if they use that money, then it's less of a burden on us, you know, in Brownsville, because it's all of us that are funding SHARE. That comes from PUB customers, one way or another. You know, if you pull something out of the budget, we paid for it. So it's good for us in that respect that we're using the state money first. It's good for them because then they can show that there is need down here and look at the people that we served and here's how much money, that type of thing. So they try to use their funds first. And typically, like I said, our criteria is the same. So if they get that funding, that's great. And they have different programs. They have some programs where they can pay your past due balance. They have some other programs where they will help you with your future bills. They will ask you for your ID. You have to be an American citizen. So they'll ask you for your ID, your PUB bill, history of your consumption for the last few months. The reason they ask you for that is because they have programs they have different kinds of programs. One will pay past due balance, one will pay this month's, one will pay 6 months, maybe up to 12 months. But what they'll do is they'll look at your history and they'll say, okay, you use an average of $200 a month in your utilities. So we're going to put you on $200 a month and move forward. Historically, one of the things, one of the downside was that you had to go in every month to do your paperwork. We just met with them a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that they're trying to implement now for this year is they'll qualify you for 6 months and basically sign you up, and you don't have to come back. And I said, okay, well, that's good for you guys because then you don't have. I'm not making you come back every single month for the next 6 months. They said, oh, yes, we're hoping that this works out. But like I said, you have to follow their criteria. It's their money. Now, if for some reason you don't qualify for that funding and you fall through the net, let's say you're undocumented, but you are a PUB customer, that's where SHARE comes in. So they kind of use us because we're using them to process our SHARE program because we said, look, we're not in the social service business. We're not qualified to do this. It takes a lot of time and energy. If people are going to be in here trying to do the payment arrangements and stuff, we do that. But as far as qualifying for aid, that takes a while because then you have to document all that stuff. Again, we have the same criteria. So what we did was about 2 or 3 years ago, I realized that, okay, this is not what I do. This is what you do. So why don't I hire you to do that for me? And while they're there, they can get qualified for everything, up front. So what happens is they'll do the qualification. If you fall through the net, I'm going to use the example of an undocumented person. You don't qualify for their program, but you do qualify for share because you are a PU customer. So what will happen is they'll qualify you and then they'll use the share money at that point. So they're using their money first and ours is the safety net. So people will get aid. Now, our criteria is a little bit tighter in the sense that we only help for, depending on which program you fall, we have an elderly program, a share, and then a share COVID. And depending on which one you fall into, we can help for 1 month or 2 months up to $200. Their programs are much bigger in scope, so they can help you with a lot more, which is the other reason as a customer, it's a good thing that you go through them first. So it's a win-win-win. It's good for them, it's good for us, and most of all, it's good for the customer. So that's the way that works. Now, just to give you an idea of what kind of money we're talking about, on our aid to customers, let me go, rather than go through each and every one, I kind of did a summary here that will show you the whole thing. I can use this mouse just a little bit. Oh, well. Okay, here are the different programs, and then the first column is the program, CAP, LIWAP, which is water, SHARE, the Elderly Assistance Program, and then this is a new company. The agencies we use are KCOST, Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley, and then there's a new company out there, Texas Utility Help Program. That's strictly online, that's statewide, but people locally can apply to that. So those are the 3 agencies that we're using right now. If you look, again, in 2021, PUB customers received a total of $2.3 million in aid. That was about 19,000 customers. In 2022, they received $2.6 million in aid. So it was a pretty significant increase. And the 2.3 was a significant increase from the year before. Even though it's less customers, it's that each customer is qualifying for a bigger dollar amount, multiple months of aid. So again, it's good for the customer in that regard. So it's significant. It's a significant amount of money. This year so far, and our fiscal year begins in October 1st. So October, November, December, it's already up at almost 900,000, 6,000 customers. I do know that when we talked to KCOST, because they're the biggest entity, they said that they were going to do an outreach program this January sometime towards the end of the month, trying to get people in, trying to get them in, because people, like as we stated earlier, they're not going like they should. And we're seeing the balances increase. So they're going to do an outreach program to try to get them in, because it typically takes about 40 days to process the application. Well, remember, you're getting a large chunk of money here, right? I mean, this is multiple months. So they have to process you. And what happens is people will, do they go in today knowing that, hey, I owe money and they're going to wait till they get that disconnect notice. And that's giving you 7 days. So then they panic and it's like, well, you got to do something. You're going to have to fork over part of it because you waited. So what they're trying to do is they know we've already met with them and given them the timelines. And so, like I said, we're pretty tight. So what they're trying to do is go in, they're going to have an outreach program to try to get people to come in and tell them, here's what you need. You need to bring your ID. You need to bring your PUB bill. You need to give them the list of everything and make an appointment for them right there. While you're here, let me make an appointment for you for the next coming weeks so that you know that you can come in on March 5th at 3:00 and you'll be taken care of. You have an appointment already. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get ahead of it. And the second thing, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to try to implement a new piece of that program to where once we qualify you, you're good for 6 months. You don't have to keep coming back because that just creates more work for them. And obviously it's inconvenient for the customer. So it's kind of a new wrinkle that they're hoping will help out. And that's kind of where we're at. Do you have any questions? Okay.
something very important, especially after March, that there was disconnection. So people right now, they have enough time for apply for the.
Yeah, and we're still sending out the notices. We changed the wording, so it's a friendly notice, just reminding you that, hey, you owe X amount. And so we're reminding people, we've been sending those notices out every single month, but again, and there's some people, the majority of people, I mean, like me, I just keep paying my bill. I mean, I'm not, we're going to stop. But there are those who, like I said, we've checked our regulars and we're like, oh, this is going to be bad. So we're gearing up for it. And we've warned these guys, we're going to try to do what we can. But in the end, we got to remember the ultimate responsibility is the customer's responsibility to go and take care of their business. And yes.
Past history, how do you decide to offer these services?
We do, okay, first and foremost, we'll work with pretty much anybody within reason. If you have a history of bouncing checks on us or breaking your payment arrangements, it's going to be more difficult. Obviously, if somebody calls just out of the blue and says, hey, I didn't pay my bill for the last couple of months and I need some help, whatever. Okay. Again, the terms are typically, we need to collect something up front, right? You need to put some skin in the game and then we'll work for what do you need? And we have a parameter in general, like maybe out to a couple of months, because there are some people that will, well, I want to pay you $5 for the next 5 years. That's not, we actually that's not going to work. We have because you got to remember, this is a community run organization. This is your money. Okay. So we have an obligation to do the best we can to collect that because everybody's paying putting into the pot to pay for the energy and the services. So we will work with them. But we'll look at your history and if you have bounced, if you did 2 payment arrangements, yeah, let's say it's January, right? And you broke your payment arrangement in December and you broke your payment arrangement in November, we have a problem. We're not going to, our tolerance will drop to a point to where we can't work with you anymore. But if you're just somebody, we're going to work with everybody. Everybody qualifies. Everybody qualifies. And as an example, we have a lot of people that are one-timers, but we also have a lot of people that, I've had people who've been on payment arrangement for years because their bill may come due on the 10th, but they don't get paid till BISD. You don't get paid till what, 26th or 25th? Okay, the 25th. So it's a timing issue for them. And sometimes we meet with them and we'll talk to them and say, look, I understand, Eddie, but it's a timing issue, but I pay. And I'll look at their history and say, yes, you do. Okay, not a problem. And literally, I've had a couple of customers that, I mean, they've been on a payment arrangement every single month for 5-6 years, but it works for them. So
How does the customer?
we advertise two ways. They advertise their programs and we advertise our programs. If you hit our website, in fact, I think it's on the banner, on one of the main banners, there's aid to PUB customers. We list all of these programs there and their contact information. And our staff will tell you, I mean, because like, again, we want you to go get help. So our customer service reps are trained to give them that information and, here's the phone number, here's who you talk to, here's where they're located, their offices and so forth. So we help advertise it. We advertise it on our website. I know marketing has done some other programs specifically to that, flyers that we'll mail to the customers. In fact, we probably need to do
Eddie,
that.
doesn't it also come out like on the bill, like on the mail?
Yes.
Don't y'all have that on there as well? I mean, I know a lot of people maybe don't look at their mail, but they do everything online, but people who don't, I think it also comes out on like when you get your bill, it has the.
We have it on prominent on our website. On the slideshow, we also have it, we have inserts that go out. We did a lot of reviews with the media about this. We've always some press releases about it. I want to say we do it maybe twice to 3 times a year campaigning, but then on social media it's throughout the year. We always try and share that information.
Yeah.
An idea to add like basically during that season. It's more like direct that send
Here we are. This is the PUB webpage. I just logged on. So here's the utility bill assistance. You can click learn more. That's the PUB webpage.
The main page.
The,
it shows right on the.
let me go back. Yeah, this is the main page and
Online as well. And I did, I probably would just add on to a little bit. So we do also have this on our business that we have. As she mentioned, we send out at least once a year, including 2 or 3 times a year, we send out a billing survey.
Yeah, I see that.
On our bill. And it's also part of our regular social media revolution. So we have a few basic topics, I'd say, maybe things like water conservation or something that are kind of always rotated through, and bill assistance is one of those things.
yeah, this is on the PUB, the main page, and it's one of the, on the big banner up front. There's like Ryan was saying, there's like 5 different topics. And this is one of them. So you can just click on it.
Is there a number that they could call as well? Because what about like people who don't have access to social, to the internet and like
There's also a number.
that they can just call?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's also there as he logs in and then you go to the share program and it'll bring up the phone number for KCOS directly.
Yeah, like here's the energy assistance program.
Okay.
You click on that, it'll tell you about it and you can apply and see here's applications at KCOS. So you're linking directly to them. We take you straight to them. That way there's and here's their phone number that you can call. And then the application is in English and in Spanish.
Okay.
Again, Texas Utility Help, again, that's a new program. They're only online. So there's the online link directly to them. If you're looking for water assistance, then again, here's water assistance, KCOS. They do that and you click on it and it'll take you straight to their information on that program.
Mr. Hernandez, will you come back and give us an update later?
Sure. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See what, going blind.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Okay.
Do we have any public comments today?
No public comments today. Is somebody in the audience that would like to speak?
If not, our next meeting is going to be February the 15th. A reminder that it's going to be at the FM 511 Service Center at the same time. And we're ready to adjourn. If I can get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a first,
I second.
second, all those in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. 6:39. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your participation.